have also hit the record button.
And I went live on the thing. There are people already watching. 4 people. Okay. It's Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we review, without spoilers, the Evangelion rebuild movies. I guess vague spoilers about what Evangelion as a whole is about. I mean, like...
Maybe.
There's a little bit of a statute of limitations on that show overall, but... So yeah, normally this is the point where we do a little opening bit and talk about like, oh, what happened on my bike ride and what we did this weekend, but nothing happened in the last 2 days. At least nothing to us.
No, it's been rather uninteresting over here.
Yep. Between the last show and this show, I played Blades in the Dark online all night, and I did 2 days of work.
I worked. I ate food. I slept.
Yep.
I rode my bike to nowhere up a virtual French mountain.
Oh, yeah. The only thing, actually, so one thing I can say is I noticed something about my body from this hike is that, and it's about like weight, like not weight like body weight, but like physical weight. So like I'll run 15 miles and feel fine. I'll bike 100 miles and just be a little sore and then fine the next day. When I normally hike, I can hike like 10 to 15 miles without any soreness, and 15 to 25 miles, I'm achy at the end of it. But hiking with a heavy pack, like actually makes my knees hurt at the end of the day, whereas more strenuous activity without that pack does not. And I think it comes down solely to the fact that...
Common sense.
Yeah, but when you think about it, when I run and do all these other things, my muscles also get stronger and bigger, and like changes happen in my body. But bones and knees are mostly just bones and knees, and ligaments are just ligaments. Like you can't make a ligament just bigger or stronger like you can the muscles around it. So that bottleneck, having that extra 30 pounds on my back, is a big goddamn deal to the parts of my body that are the least able to be trained or improved in any way.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I'm not an orthopedist or whatever the correct doctor is. But
Yep. Yeah, I always figure which one's which over there.
Common sense. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just something I didn't really think about. Because like, all right, I can hike 20 miles. I'll put out a pack and I'll hike 20 miles. I'll just be more tired. And now, actually wasn't more tired at all, but my knees hurt. And I also couldn't run. Like you could feel my knees being like, nope, do not do that when you're this heavy. You've got a big load on your back.
Like if you go on a long bike ride, even if you get off and feel totally fine, like you don't feel achy or anything, if you try to walk up some stairs immediately after, you're wobble, wobble, wobble.
Yep. But the other thing that was interesting is when I was wearing those really fancy backpacks, because when I was a kid, I didn't have a fancy backpack like modern technology. Like it's
also some of those didn't exist, even if you had.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. The hiking backpacks today are materially like different, kind of like how skis are different in the 21st century. So the thing that was really interesting about wearing that heavy pack was that it didn't feel like any weight at all, other than the knee thing. Like when you're wearing it, unless you lean to the side at all, and then suddenly you feel all that weight all at once. Like you got to stay kind of straight up, or suddenly you feel it all.
Uh-oh. I don't stand up straight. Like dynamite.
So yeah, I'll get right into it. Normally, anime news, manga news, comic news, but we had a whole bunch of big news on Monday, and the news train continued. Like, we cannot talk about this. There was a massive leak at Twitch. Like, this is huge news that we're still just barely unpacking. We've barely even unpacked all the stuff we talked about on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So what we know is that Twitch, someone leaked not just like password hashes or like, all the baby stuff that gets leaked all the time. It appears that they leaked the entire source code for Twitch, including like change logs and multiple versions of a lot of things. Entire databases of just raw information. I saw talk of 2-factor secrets were even leaked. Raw passwords were not leaked, I don't think, but hashes were.
Supposedly, there was one dump. The dump was confirmed legit. It was actually a dump, leak.
Verge confirmed it at 7:30 a.m. yesterday, and then Twitch also confirmed it was legit a few hours later.
It was supposedly part 1. So the only things that were actually in part 1 that seemed to have leaked is the source code of Twitch, right? Its entire Git repository, which includes the entire history of the Git repository. So you could presumably check out, Twitch 1.0 from 2000 and try to run it on who knows what hardware. If I don't think that's going to be possible, but and also some data that included something related to the payouts people get, the earnings of streamers, but that data looks, at least I haven't seen the original data because I'm not downloading some shady leak from 4chan, but the people have so processed that data via some unknown means and published it without much annotation describing what the numbers are. And it doesn't have a lot of meaning what people have tweeted, right? Or supposedly.
It's a situation where people are coming in hot with hot takes about data they've looked at, but the serious people, like the journalists who are going through this data and like methodically analyzing it, it's going to be a little while before we get really verified explanations of the full extent of this data.
Regardless, any claims of any data other than that, and other than the source code repository and...
Well, actually, so here's the official list. This is confirmed. This is what is in the leak right now. 3 years of creator payouts with the asterisk that we don't exactly know what those numbers represent specifically. The entirety of Twitch TV with commit history going back to nearly the beginning. The source code for the mobile, desktop, and video game console Twitch clients. Code related to all the proprietary SDKs and internal AWS services used by Twitch. An unreleased Steam competitor from Amazon Game Studios.
Right. Well, I mean, so they do, or maybe still do have like a Twitch app. And if you get free games from Twitch because you have Twitch Prime, that's the app you need to get those games. So I don't know why they're calling it like some unreleased secret Steam competitor. There is a Steam competitor from Twitch. It's the Twitch app. It has you can download games in it. It has a library.
From what
Steam does.
I did read a little more about this, but there's still people are still investigating it. But the claim is that what it is, if you look at it, is something that is not available and out there. Like it has pieces.
Probably like a rebranded, upgraded, who knows what. But all of these things are under the umbrella of the source code repositories from Twitch.
Oh, also a whole bunch of raw data that hasn't been analyzed yet on IGDB and CurseForge. Other Twitch properties. There's other things Twitch owns that I don't interact with. And all of Twitch's internal security tools, including their red team penetration test suites.
Right, so all their source code to all their software.
Yep. So we don't know much more yet, but if you have a Twitch account, I highly recommend you change your password, and if you have two-factor authentication, disable it and re-enable it. And beyond that,
and now, of course, there hasn't been any confirmed, truth to the fact that anything in like the Twitch SQL database presumably has been compromised in any way.
Yep.
But they did say it was leak part 1, and it was such a leak that you have to imagine if they got all this, they could have, who knows what they could have gotten. But maybe, right, Twitch was using, were they using GitHub? They're Amazon. They're probably using Oz code, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the breach could have come on that side of things, and then thus not had access to anything else. The only outlier is that payment data. Why would that be in Git, right? If the Git was the compromised part only, that would be in a database somewhere. Why was it in its own database? Maybe it was in some sort of payment processor that got compromised or something. Who knows? Something strange.
I guess what I would say is that. I would be more surprised if this is the extent of the leak than I would be if a part 2 comes out.
All right, but there's no reason not to just go, change your password, reset your stream keys. It's free to do. Couldn't hurt if you're not, and
worst case, it's a waste of time, but best case, it might protect you possibly from other things that may be coming along.
Make sure you have 2FA enabled on there, which you should do for all your accounts everywhere anyway.
Yep.
But one thing we did discuss today, which is really true, is that a Twitch account, unless you are A, streaming, obviously need an account.
Yep.
B, subscribing, which you're going to need an account. You really want to chat on Twitch.
Yeah.
Or you really want to use the feature where you follow people and get notified when they go live, which can be useful for people who rarely go live. So unless you want to use one of those 4 things or combination thereof, even if you watch a lot of Twitch, there's no reason to actually have a Twitch account.
I mean, I will admit, like, I tweeted this too, like, full disclosure. Rather than like deal with this, I logged into my Twitch account and I just deleted it because I don't actually use it that often.
Yeah, if you don't use any of those 4 features, even if you use Twitch a lot, you don't need an account. An account doesn't get you much, right?
Yeah.
And which is why they should be back to the argument from last week. They should go even harder on making it hard to get an account because people don't even really need an account unless you're doing those things. And most of the people who want to make accounts are bots, so therefore the barrier should be higher.
When I saw the breach, I went like, oh, maybe I should change my password. And I wasn't even logged into Twitch on any of my browsers at the time.
Well, yeah, Twitch will log you out, I think, after a certain number of days, no matter what you do.
Yep. So. But that means I had not done anything.
Expire time seems to be shorter than some others.
Yeah, because YouTube, like Google, like almost never logs me out.
Yeah, very rarely.
So some other news, you got this thing from Katsuka.
Yeah, thank you to the listener for posting this on our Discord right before the show because I couldn't find the news. So the Ankama studio, the French animation studio, who made animations such as Dofus and Wakfu, which
Incroyable.
I've heard of. Yeah, Wakfu was a big deal right when it came out in some areas, but I haven't heard of it I've heard of it, but I haven't heard from it in a long time.
I think we even talked about it on GeekNights. I watched a bunch of it and I kind of got bored with it and I didn't continue with it, to be honest.
I wasn't into it, but it was definitely unique at the time and it had an impact like on, animation as a whole.
It definitely got a critical mass of true fans globally.
Yeah. But anyway, the people who made that are making a full-length animated motion film, which is, like we always say on Geek Nights, there are despite the proliferation of, everyone around the world making all kinds of content, more music in a day than you can possibly listen to, more movies than ever you could watch, more books than you could ever read. If you limit yourself to full-length animated movies, 90, we're talking 60, 90 minutes plus, fully 2D, animated films, even if they're made with computers, there are not many.
Yep.
The number that come out in a year are like a few hands worth.
And if you remove everything that is a sequel to an existing property, that brings that number down even further.
Right. Because even if you're totally just an indie place, like to animate a thing of that length is just a tremendous endeavor, even with the most modern technologies, and let's say you have a pile of money, right? So there just aren't that many of them. You could conceivably, I think, if someone dedicated themselves to being, to doing this, you could watch every animated movie that is of a certain length, right? 60, 90 minutes plus that has ever been made by humans within a lifetime of a single human who is healthy.
You could definitely watch every year, every single feature-length animated film that comes out in the world.
Yeah, probably. Even if you went for like the really unpopular ones, whatever. So they're making one, and our policy, because of what we just said, is why not watch an original? Right? It's an original story.
Also, with these character designs and the topic, Princesse Dragon, like, yeah, I'm down, I'm game. Yeah, like, you got me.
Right.
I will.
It's like, we already have Dragon Prince. Let's go Princess Dragon. But yeah, the thing, all I can say about it, because there's so little information about it right now, other than like a picture and a little trailer that's, tiny and whatever. But the style of the characters reminds me of Princess Kaguya, maybe a little less sketchy parts, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
If you've seen Princess Kaguya, you know what I mean.
And the dragon's got a little bit of a Western dragon coupled with a Godzilla.
If you look at the background and the foreground of the movie poster, we're doing a little judge by the poster here.
Yep.
The art style is like, exactly the opposite of that. Right. So it creates this contrast between the characters and the world that really, I think would work well in a movie. And that makes me think that, this movie might be good if they've already, you can see how much thought they've put into this and positive aspects coming out from a still image. I have a positive expectation of what this is going to be, whatever it's going to be. So
all right,
it's coming out when? December 15th in French theaters. Oh.
Le Décembre au cinéma.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, now I'll just go to things of the day.
I made a mistake. I forgot I had to buy tokens.
Ha 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 ha.
I should have parred higher.
Yeah, parred low is powerful and also a problem sometimes.
All right, hold on. Let me do a math real quick.
All right, do that while I'll queue up the things of the day.
360.
Do. I'm excited that you fired this company poorly. Now I gotta look at the game. I'll share it with the listener. Let's see. Look at my game here.
All right, I guess I'm gonna go for the 2 token.
Yeah, 2 tokens, okay. You don't need a lot of tokens early on. What you really need early on is the just the fact that it's
I'll go
not
for
chartered.
the 2 token, and then I'll buy another share to pump more money in, and I'll be fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, I wanted more than 2 token. So I guess that's the consequence of the fuck up is only 2 tokens.
All right. Anyway, things of the day.
I'll just have to merge some tokens in, maybe.
But anyway, things of the day. So check this out. This video talks about a bunch of dangerous toys that were sold in America. Lawn darts are like that is baby's first dangerous toy that was sold in stores. Like we're going way beyond that. But the primary dangerous toy in this video from the 60s, it is a real toy, is a gasoline-powered pogo stick.
Wow. That sounds lovely.
It is terrifying. And
the gasoline-powered is probably what's terrifying most people, but
pogo stick by itself is terrifying and dangerous.
A pogo stick by itself is already a terrifying, dangerous toy, especially when it's constructed poorly. So
yep. So imagine a pogo stick that is literally powered by gasoline to make you jump higher.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah. There's no gore or anything in this video, but I will say that the person who is trying it out and working on it and demonstrating it hurts themselves basically every time they use it in the entire video.
You know what you could do? I guess you could make some sort of a pneumatic pogo stick.
It would be the same result. It's kind of like powered roller skates or rollerblades.
But at least you wouldn't have like this motor going on. You'd basically just
No, it's not a motor. It is gas. Every time it comes down, it ignites the cylinder once and shoots you back up in the air.
Oh, so the pogo stick is the piston.
Yeah, the pogo stick is the piston. You come down, spark plug fires, it shoots you in the air. There
wouldn't be fire involved if you just used a compressed
Oh yeah, the fire.
gas.
Even with this, the fire doesn't hurt anyone. The act of it pushing you back into the air itself is the danger here.
I mean, even a trampoline is hella dangerous.
I kind of want to go jump on a trampoline again. It's been a while.
You should go to a professional trampoline place.
It's way more fun to just have trampoline fights with friends in someone's backyard.
Well, the trampoline places, though, they just have a field of trampolines. So that sort of,
Yeah, true. You don't have the situation of just falling off the trampoline, which is way scarier than a lot of people realize.
Well, scary is falling between the trampolines. Anyway. So
what do you got?
Today, this isn't animation related in any way, but this is dude, and he runs a campground. People come and camp there. They rent little campsites, and then they leave. It's sort of like a hotel, only way less amenities. So this campground's been open for a long time. It's still open till today. And in the 80s, 1985, according to this video, he decided to, use a computer to manage the reservation system at the campground. But in 1985, you couldn't exactly buy a campground reservation software.
Yep, there was not campground management as a service.
I don't even know if there is today. You'd probably use something more generic, right, to do that. But anyway, so what this person did is they got themselves a computer in 1985. What computer could you get that wasn't that wasn't ridiculously expensive? They got an Atari ST, a perfectly fine computer, and by themselves they wrote the software to manage the campground reservation system, which is not that complicated a thing. Atari ST could handle it. It wouldn't be that fancy, but you could get
It's
it
pretty
done.
fancy. Like, it shows a map of the campground and like the campsites. Like, it's more fancy than you might expect when you watch this video.
Yeah. But that software doesn't need any internet. It didn't need any updates. The computer, why would it break? It still works today. The only upgrade that was made is because, disk drives have moving parts and such. They had to replace, the disk drives with something that uses USB sticks, right? Some sort of interface. Like, I have those similar thing on my Apple computers where I fool the Apple computers into thinking that a micro SD card is actually an old hard drive or an old floppy drive. Same trick.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it still works. He's still using it today. Why upgrade?
Yeah. Actually, that's
a conversation that's going on in the tech space. Even though it's not a Monday show, we won't go into the discussion. But with chip shortages and such, right? It's like, if an old slow ass chip can do a thing, why use a crazy fancy one? But factories only make new fancy ones, and reuse, environment, so many concerns going into this topic. But this is actually a good, is this a good environmental move? Yes, because you didn't have to buy a new computer, use new silicon.
I mean, reduce, reuse, recycle. This is reduce and reuse at the same time.
You have to consider how much power this old ass computer is using, probably more than an iPhone is. And an iPhone is many, many, many times more powerful. So there's a lot going on here, but really interesting video.
Well, it's funny because when I worked at IBM, I guess statute of limitations or NDAs or whatever are up, but when I was there, this was a long time ago, one of the systems I had to manage was the core DNS for basically the entire fab, like the factory, like critical DNS. And it was running on this ancient computer that hadn't been rebooted in years that was running OS2 Warp connected to our token ring network. And we just all agreed to not try to move it, to not try to shut it down, to not try to upgrade it because it was working fine. I presume it's still there to this day. But
yeah, I mean, if it's not online and it works, you're good.
So the other day, I bumped into, we were cleaning up the apartment, then we'll get into the Evangelion review. I found a set of discs that was actually a parting gift when I did finally quit IBM and move on to other things.
There was the plaque with the token ring cards.
Oh yeah, I have that. That's actually on my desk at work today. But I keep that. I love that plaque. Because my first big IT project in my career, like the biggest thing I ever did first, was helping IBM migrate off of token ring and onto Ethernet. And if you think that makes me really old, actually it doesn't. This was just a really old archaic network, but also it makes me really old. Two things are happening there. But so the parting gift when I left, because I really like the people I worked with, they gave me CDs that were the last official release of OS2 Warp, the operating system, long after it stopped being released to the public. So I have
just download it.
This was never released to the public. I don't know if this is available anywhere.
Oh, let's get it up on oldversion.com.
So,
then.
yeah, I found these discs. So this weekend...
Archive.org, let's go.
This weekend, I'm going to rip these discs to ISOs. I'm going to figure out if this is anywhere, and I'm going to see what I can do with these discs. So stay tuned.
Archive.org and oldversion.com are probably your best bets, right?
Exactly. So that's an exciting project I'm going to do this weekend. I hope these CDRs are still readable.
Is oldversion.com still up? I'm taking a look.
I don't even know.
Anyway.
In the meta moment, the GeekNights book, which we are steamrolling through now, the tale of Genji as he sleeps and fucks his way through life, causing minor problems along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're not going to any conventions anytime soon for all the reasons you can imagine. Our most recent
PAX
panel.
Unplugged is happening, though. We won't be there.
Yep. Atari Game Design, the last panel we did for a convention, which was for PAX East Online, is just on YouTube. You can just watch it. Follow us on the internet. We keep doing stuff. We stream stuff. We're making stuff. We keep making stuff. This podcast is on the internet. And I feel like we should jump right into the review because we already have too much to say for one episode. And I haven't even seen the last of these movies.
That's right. So Rim did not watch all 4 of these movies. I watched, because this was my strategy. I remember we were at Otakon. The last Otakon we went to was 2009, right?
Yeah.
So we were at an Otakon. I forget if it was 08 or 09. Someone can look it up. And it was definitely one of the last two that we were at, for sure. And they were showing the first Evangelion Rebuild movie.
Evangelion 1.0, You Are Not Alone.
Right. So they were showing it there, like US premiere. And I was like, at that moment, I said, you know what? How many? There's going to be 4 of these things, right? I've already seen the show. And I said, at that moment, I said, nah, I'll wait until all 4 are out and watch them all in one go.
Yep. I had 2 thoughts there. My first thought was that. And my second thought was, I've already seen Evangelion. It's just going to be super fancy, like reanimated movies of the same thing. Right. So I can wait.
I was not sure what I was thinking, because I peeked in. I think I even peeked in the door and I saw scenes that I had seen already. And I was like, oh, this is just going to be like a compilation sort of HD remake deal.
That's what I thought. And you know what? That's fair.
That's what I thought at the time.
Because other than the last 30 seconds of that fucking movie, that is just what it is.
Well, I learned not long after that it wasn't just an HD remake, because the second one, once the second one came out, right?
Yep. So that was 2007 in Japan that movie came out. So Scott says in 2007, I will wait until this is done. A wise move, because
I don't know if 2007 was when they showed it in the US, though.
Well, so I'm going to go by the Japanese release dates, because it wasn't
we don't know what date they showed it.
It was not released officially in North America until 2009, but
it must have been 09 then. It was at Otakon.
But 08 was the last Otakon we went to.
No, we went to Otakon 09.
Did we? I don't think we did.
I think 09 was the last.
Pretty sure 09's the one where they kicked us off the staff because we refused to come.
I think I have a badge for 09.
I think 08 was the last one. Anyway, so I'll go by the Japanese years.
2000s.
So 2007, we wisely agree to wait until all 4 movies come out, then watch them all. 2009, the second movie comes out. Way off the rails from the first movie, but we just keep waiting. 2000.
The reason I knew things had gone off the rails is because I had started seeing pictures of this Ava pilot who was not in the show.
Yep.
Not in any. Right. It's like, oh, clearly they've changed a lot if there's a whole new freaking character in there. Right.
2012. The third movie comes out. So 2012, nearly a decade ago, the third movie came out. And the fourth movie came out this year in 2021.
Now hold up. There's an extra layer to this, right? Not only were there 4 movies, right? But each movie sort of had 2 releases, right? So what they did is like released the movie like quickly to the theater, and then they like updated them a bit. And then, to fix them up, sort of like how a lot of times there'll be a TV anime, and then for the DVD release, they'll fix a lot of stuff.
Yep, they fixed a bunch of stuff, and they added a total of 7 minutes to the runtime.
Right. So
across all 4 movies.
Right. So each of the 4 movies were individually had 2 versions. Right. And like a slight tiny upgrade, almost like it's get confusing because the names of the movies have like version numbers in them. But if you consider them all to just be 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, they released 1.1, 2.1, 3.1, and 4.1. So that you don't need to watch those 0.0 ones. You only need to watch the beefed up ones. I don't even know what the differences are because I've never watched those polished ones. I've only watched the 4. And if you go on Amazon Prime, which is where you can watch this in the United States for free, if you have Prime, so not free, you will just see those upgraded ones. You will not see those original ones. They're just not, they don't exist. They're like, Star Wars not special edition. Like they're just gone.
Yep. Now, what I will say is we're going to review these like a normal anime review. Like we're not going to spoil stuff other than like I kind of hinted at the beginning. We're going to spoil like broad themes of Evangelion, obviously, like what the show's about and stuff.
We might spoil the original TV show from, how many years ago, the 90s.
Yep. But we're not going to spoil anything material. Like, don't worry. We are like we used to do in ancient times. We're going to do a separate, completely spoiler-filled final thoughts episode because I've only seen 3. Like, I have not seen the end of this yet. Scott has.
Yeah, I don't know why you're even qualified to have this show if you haven't seen the 4th one. I saw them all. I watched as soon as they came out that weekend. I watched the first 2 on Saturday and the second 2 on Sunday, and I might do it again.
Well, I'm gonna watch them all again. Good lord. Actually, I went back and watched scenes.
I might not watch the first one again.
I don't need to watch the first one again, but I did go back and watch scenes from the original Evangelion to compare to the first movie. And I have a lot to say. I don't know how.
Well, let's start there. Let's start with the first movie. So the first movie is literally just the TV series Evangelion episodes 1 through.
Yep.
I forget which one. The sniper rifle one, I want to say.
Yeah, it goes up to about the sniper rifle. Actually, no, it doesn't even quite get to the sniper rifle one. It's like right there.
No, I think the sniper rifle is included in the first movie.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Never mind.
Yes. So if you take just Evangelion, the TV show, from episode 1 up through whatever episode the sniper rifle is, you know, the famous one, right? The whatever it's called, plasma cannon. I forget what they called it, right?
Positron cannon.
That's the one, the positron cannon episode, the famous episode. And you edit it down, you know, to only because think about it, those episodes are what, 20 to 30 minutes each times maybe 5, 6, 7. So it gets edited down just to the important.
Oh, I found a listing. It covers up until about like episode 6 of the original show.
Episode 6. Okay, so about 6 times 25 would be 150. How many minutes long is the movie?
101 minutes.
So you're cutting out 40 minutes, basically.
And I will say this, my only complaint about this entire rebuild is, and it's not even really an important complaint, is that the first movie, up until the very end, loses the atmosphere of the original show in that...
Not enough cicada scenes.
Yeah, because it's so condensed, it's almost just like a greatest hits of like, it is shot for shot, all the really iconic scenes from those first 6 episodes, beautifully animated, but it like skips all the like side character building and all the atmosphere, and it feels just rushed and fast, but at the same time, I don't have a real complaint about that, because what it really did for me is just remind me of, oh yeah, that's what happened in Ava. Like it reminded me.
I think that was the purpose of it. It's not, you know, a replacement for the TV show. It's all right, we're making these other 3 movies and we're expecting you not to go and watch the TV show again, but you've seen the TV show before.
Yep.
So watch this first movie, and we're just going to refresh you so you're where you need to be to watch the next 3 rebuild movies.
Yep.
Also, while we're here, right, it's like some nostalgia. You're seeing all these iconic, famous scenes that we've kept in. We've edited out cicada noise scenes.
Yep.
And things of that nature, right? And we, you know, it's really this plot-wise, you're getting everything. There's almost no changes whatsoever.
In fact, you're kind of getting more earlier, because the difference, the main differences, other than the big difference we'll talk about at the end, are that it focuses more, like it shows you more viscera and like blood details of the angels, like, which is notable for the rest of the movies, the blood. 2, it pretty explicitly tells you Sele's deal and a lot of what's going on way earlier than that even comes up in the actual original show. Like it's like, oh yeah, human instrumentality, Sele, like it just kind of tells you a lot of this stuff really explicitly way earlier, and it completely skips anything related to the computers. But otherwise, it's pretty much just Evangelion.
They do mention the computers occasionally throughout the movies, and if you haven't seen the TV, you might not know what they're talking about when they talk about the computers. But yeah, the whole computer thing's just edited out entirely.
And I guess the one thing I'll say as a review first is that I would not recommend watching these movies without watching the original show first, partly because the original show is brilliant and a very important piece of animation. It is worth watching. I'm going to link to...
Even if you don't like it.
Yeah, like, if you love Evangelion, if you hate Evangelion, there's a reason everyone keeps talking about Evangelion, and we're doing this show right now. The show is important. It is worth watching, and whatever you take away from it, you're going to take away from it. And if you watch this first movie, it really removes a lot of the things that set you in the mood for the rest of Evangelion. You'll miss out on a lot of why that show was good.
Yeah, but if you are someone who's just not ever going to watch the TV show, it's like, I guess this can sort of get you up to speed.
Also,
get the job done. After
the first movie, the rest of the movies, the rebuilds, they're faster in terms of like plot that happens, but they also have all the atmosphere and everything back. Like the pacing is more like Evangelion after that first movie. The
A
first
little bit.
movie, a little bit. We'll get to that, especially in the second movie and the third movie and like the vibe. But then at the very end of this movie, like I'm watching it, not knowing a lot about the rebuilds other than
You're watching the first movie, and like literally everything that happens is like, you know what's gonna happen because you've seen the TV show.
Yep.
It's just the TV show.
I was literally just there like, all right, now I'm going to see this scene. Now I'm going to see this scene. He's going to lay there in the bed with his hand over his eye listening to that tape.
There's one scene that is a scene from the TV show, but it happens way later in the TV show.
Yep.
They put it in like the middle of this movie, so it's a slight time change in terms of when that event happens.
Like, yeah, and that event is very important to the show. It's hard to...
An event, but, but other than that, it's like, everything else is pretty much lockstep. We're talking frame by frame, the only difference being the aspect ratio and the resolution and whatnot, right? Because it's HD.
And all the blood stuff. Until the very end of this movie.
We're talking like seconds, like the final seconds of the first movie.
Like suddenly, it is just
There's
like,
a scene.
oh, by the way, everything after this moment is complete batshit. This isn't the Evangelion you know at all. Here's a bunch of new characters. Here's a character who you should not know about, literally on the moon, looking down at Earth, and he says some stuff, and
is surrounded by some stuff.
Yup, some stuff that if you've seen Evangelion and you haven't seen these movies, it is hard to, like, I don't know, all you can react to that is, oh my God. And if we had watched this movie when it first came out, we wouldn't have been able to like respond to that for years.
Right. It's like, what the hell what was going on there? Right. It's
yup.
Like, that final few second scene in no way fits. Right. It's like everything they've showed you is something you've seen before. And then they show you something that doesn't fit at all with any of the end of Evangelion movies, TV shows, like anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we're talking this, I don't think this will spoil anything material. You see like a bunch of Spears of Longinus and a character on the moon and a bunch of other Evas and all this ridiculous nonsense that you cannot parse.
Right. It would be like if you're watching, just to stick with Anno's faves, right? Let's say you're watching like a Godzilla movie.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, okay, Godzilla's smashing the Tokyo. The humans are finding a way to stop him. Right. Okay, cool. And then at the end, it's like, the movie's over. Right. And you're like, okay, that was a Godzilla movie. And then they show you like the bottom of the ocean where 10 Godzillas live.
Yep.
in a house or something. It's like, what?
And one of those Godzillas is like talking in English and doing something strange.
It's like, what? It doesn't fit in any way with any Godzilla that's come before.
Or like that Godzilla like opens a gate and a submarine comes out, and in that submarine are a bunch of little Godzillas or some nonsense. Like,
yep. All right.
So after that,
second movie.
Yeah, after that, the best way I can describe this is imagine the same characters plus new characters who are mostly the same people, but the events that happen around them are radically different and happen in a different order or two different people or for different reasons. Like almost imagine an alternate universe where like radically different things happen, but the characters react to those events the way you would expect those characters from the original show to react had those events happened in the original show. And the moral is like it's the same story, the same core, but with a very different journey.
Right. So this is I've talked about this before, I think, with some other media, the same idea that, let's say you have a story, right? And you're telling a story, capitalism bad, right? Yep. So you have right? And so you can tell that same story with the same message of capitalism bad. It doesn't matter at the ending, you could have capitalism kill the good character, or at the end, you could have socialism save the good character, right? And those are completely different endings, completely different things happen, but you're saying the same thing, right? Even with drastically different events in the plot.
Which almost serve to reinforce each other.
Right. So here, it's like your Evangelion, same exact message as original Evangelion, mostly, like 90% plus, right? Hedgehog's Dilemma, all that biz, right? It's saying the same things, even though the events that are unfolding with the same characters, same voice actors in most cases, all cases. I don't even, right?
They sound right. That's all that matters to me.
Same personality, same director, right? Same all this stuff, same designs, mostly same designs. Telling the same effective story, meaning-wise, but the events that unfold are tremendously different.
So, like, a non-spoilery example, other than that, one of the core, like, I'll link to the episode where we talked about what Evangelion was about in depth, but it has the physical story of the events that happen, but the moral and the message is mostly around the hedgehog's dilemma, the idea that humans are separate beings. We can communicate with each other, but we can't communicate what's in our truest heart perfectly. Like, we can't. I cannot convey the truest thoughts I have in my brain to Scott. Well, I can convey a simulacra of that, but they're not the same. The closer people get to each other, the more potential they have to hurt each other, but also the more potential they have to help each other. So, and the show just explores this concept almost to the extreme, absurd conclusions that this conversation could have. So imagine in the first show, you're watching the show and you're thinking, fucking Shinji, if you would just talk to someone, even once, about your feelings, everything would have been different. So now watch these movies. Oh, Shinji talked to someone about his feelings. Everything is really different. It's the exact same message.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right.
Misato, you could have gone into that room and said something instead of saying nothing. Gendo, you could have praised your fucking son once, maybe. And yes, that's true. Everything's different. It validates everything you thought about the original show, and it shows how, the events are very different, but the message is the same.
Yeah, you could just show. It's like, if you do this, if the show is trying to tell you do X, you can send the message of do X either by showing someone not doing X and failing, or doing X and succeeding. So it's a rebuild in that way. And that last time they showed not doing X and failing, and this time they'll show doing X and succeeding. Yep. But the message is still, you should have done X, right? Oh, and it's sort of like, look, they did X and it worked. See, I told you.
Yeah.
So I think this is really interesting in that, usually when people redo movies or any kind of story in any medium, right? You're usually getting a sequel or a prequel, which this is not. This is not a sequel or a prequel, right? It is not a HD remake where you're just doing the same thing again, only fancier colors.
Yeah,
right? Because small edits like a Star Wars special.
It is hard to express how radically different everything is after the first movie.
Right. It's a rebuild. And so in the rebuild, the overall thing that, makes it different is that, is it good, right? Is it better than the original? It's not like a superhero comics where it's like, okay, alternate universe, right? It's like, no, this is canon. And so the TV show is also canon. It's all canon.
In fact, I'm just canon. Based on at least the first 3 movies, canon with a capital C, and I'll leave it at that.
The TV show, everything that happened in the TV show happened, and everything in this happened, even though it's not a sequel.
Yep.
And that'll only make sense if you've seen it all, which is why it's okay to just say that. It's not spoiling anything.
Yep.
But whether the movies... I actually like the TV show way more than the movies still, even having seen all 4 of the movies.
But I liked the movies nearly equally.
But... what I think is great about the rebuild, and why I think maybe someone else will attempt a rebuild of something else at some point. I don't know if I can't think of anyone who has.
Well, the nearest thing I can think of, but it's such a poor analogy because these tended to be garbage, was there was a number of 90s anime that had an OAV that was very popular. And then they would make an alternate universe where they tell the same story again as a longer TV show to explore like an alternate set of events. But
that's an alternate universe. It's not just in the
And also they didn't really have the same messages. They were actually they were mostly just bad and watered down.
It's comparable. Zelda's comparable, right?
Yeah.
Zelda games is like, there was a book that had like some sequence of timelines or whatever in it or something, right? But all the Zelda games are mostly separate, right? Taking place in different
But they explore a very similar story, a very similar universe, a very similar
every Zelda game is sort of like rebuild of Legend of Zelda in a way.
Yep.
And the existence
well, I guess Zelda 2 is canonically
movies.
Zelda 2 is canonically an explicit sequel of Zelda 1. But anyway,
the existence of these movies, right? The fact that they're there actually somehow, right, makes the TV show better.
Yes.
It's like the TV show is better because the movie's here. It's the opposite of what nerds complain about, which obviously isn't true, is that, oh, you ruined the thing I like by making a new thing, which can't possibly happen because you could just pretend the new thing isn't there.
It's almost put me into a loop. Watching these movies, I really want to go back and watch the entire show again. But if I watch the entire show again, I feel like I'm going to think, oh, now I want to watch the movies again.
Right. It's like if these movies were, say, garbage, like completely awful, the TV show would still be as good as it was on its own.
And we could just ignore the movies like we do for those other Indiana Jones movies.
That original artwork cannot be harmed, right? But it's not easy to elevate it either, right? The movies, even if you don't think they're good, right? Even if you don't like them, or don't like them as much as the TV show, I like them, just not as much as the TV show.
Yep.
They somehow have the power to, if you have seen them, the original TV show now means more. It has become elevated in a way, right? Because there was a rebuild that happened later.
And I'd say it's from two angles. On one hand, it reinforces the underlying themes of the original show. So you watch the original show again, and you can compare like all these different paths and like really internalize the meta message. But also, the movie explores many of the world building and science fiction aspects of the show that were footnotes in the show and vice versa. I'll give an example that's not super spoilery. In the show, there's a moment where you find out there's like a nerve base in the US and like there's an accident there and it just disappears. Like it blows up. There's a big disaster. And
it's like a footnote. Isn't that in the lava episode, I want to say?
I think so. I forget exactly, but I think you're right. So that just happens and like characters react to it, but like you don't get an episode where they like go and investigate it. In this show, in the movies, that happens and they go fucking deal with it.
Yeah, it's like they're actually because there's the original TV show has these hints that there is another world, right? It's like early in the TV show they deliver, right? AV Unit 3, right?
Yep.
It's delivered, right?
From Europe. Well, 2 from Europe.
2.
And then 3, anyway.
It's Unit 2. Yeah. It's
Unit 2 is the one from Europe.
Right. But yeah, it gets delivered and it's like, but they never show you what the hell's, Kaji comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's more, the in the end of Evangelion, spoilers, right? All those white ones show up.
Yep.
It's like, where did they come from? The movies actually go and show you what's going on around the other parts of the world.
You see Kaji doing his spy shit. You see the place where the things come from. I'm trying. It's hard to talk around that, but the place where the things come from.
There's a lot of blanks that got filled in. It's like it's not new information because all that stuff was in the TV show,
and that stuff was not material to the message or even the plot.
Right, but because it matters for the plot of these movies, which is a different plot, they're now showing you all those things this time. Before you didn't see them.
But you also get to flesh out the physical events from the show and the movie, and you also get to flesh out the themes. But the moments that gave me the chills watching the movies were there are iconic scenes in the show. The one I'm thinking of very specifically is when the skull-faced alien gets near Terminal Dogma and like is staring Misato in the face. Like that scene in the show, that scene is like one of the most haunting scenes in the entire show to me. And that exact same scene with very different events leading up to it and very different events happening after it. But the two worlds almost converge into that scene being identical in the second movie. And the fact that the two like stories I've seen intersected so perfectly and then diverge again at that moment, that stuck with me. And that is how the whole of these two sets of tellings of the story, the episodes versus the movies, are greater than the sum of their parts.
Right. So the second movie, unlike the first movie, while it's pretty much all stuff that did not happen in the TV show, it still is sort of like a, like almost like slightly altered events from the TV show, right? It's like there are things that happen in the TV show that kind of happen in the second movie differently, right? Mixed up a little bit, right?
Yep.
Sort of
Some
like
things from later in the show happen then. Brand new things happen. But the atmosphere is different because the thing about these movies that's so striking is that each movie has a radically different vibe and feeling and like mood. Like the second movie really focuses on the scale of what humanity is built, but also the fact that Earth is teeming with life. Like this positive optimism of humans, we're trying to save the world. And like all the atmospheric scenes, it's not the cicadas.
That's
so
what comes from, the old robot shows that, Evangelion is one of.
Yep. But you get instead of all the cicadas and the emptiness that is so pervasive in the original show, you see a world filled with people teeming with life, going about their days, trying to survive and rebuild. And I think that's really epitomized by the scene where Kaji takes them on the field trip with the ocean stuff. And then it all kind of goes to shit. And the third movie is more like the empty times coupled with things that are very hard to talk about without spoiling huge things.
Yeah. So the third movie basically has no overlap with the original TV show whatsoever, right? It's like it's like the first movie you're on the TV side. The second movie is sort of like this border space, right?
Yep.
And the third movie is completely in a new...
The second movie is, the second movie's off the rails, but like, you're still in the same universe. Like you're on a train and the scenery is very different, but you're still like, all right, I see like how this track came from the track I was on. And then after that, it's just like the train has fallen off a cliff and is in space somehow. Like,
right. And so there's 4 movies and somehow, right, it's like, even though these are 4 anime movies, they're going to be 4 of them, they're in a series, right? Usually when you were going to make an anime series, even Evangelion, you save your terrible secret of space for like the last few episodes, right?
No, the terrible secret of space goes beyond what you would have possibly ever expected before the end of the second movie.
Right. Here, it's like each individual movie goes terrible secret of space at the end, even though the first one only does a little bit.
Yep.
And it's like, and then it's like, how was the end of the third movie not the end of the whole thing?
I mean, the end of the second movie, but for something that happens in the final seconds of it, could have been the end of Evangelion.
Yeah, it could have just.
And I say that literally, as in, remember the movie End of Evangelion? Like, yep, sure, that is literally the end. Game over.
Yeah, it's like the events that happen in each of the movies are so climactic. They could be. It's just like 4 ends, right?
Yep.
It's like the power, usually animes save up their power for the end and then release the full blast, right?
This is more like Promare, the movie, where it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. Right. It's like a song that just keeps swelling and at no point dies down.
And there's 4 bullets in the revolver and they're all maximum power and they go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
But Rim hasn't seen the 4th one. The 4th one, so a revolver usually has 6 shots. So let's say the first movie is 1 bullet comes out, right?
Yep.
Maybe it grazes you. The second and third movies, there's just 1 bullet each and they hit you.
Like right in that forehead. Like
right. And then the 4th movie, right, is all 3 remaining shots come out at once. The 4th movie is like too much for a human being that can process Evangelion.
Like, I'll put it this way. After having only seen 2, I was messaging Scott like a while ago, and then again, I was like, yeah, we're going to have to do like a whole separate final thoughts because I have too much to say so far. And Scott was like, yeah, you haven't even seen the 4th one. We're going to have like...
haven't seen the 4th one.
No, we're going to have...
don't know anything the fuck is going on.
I already think I have like hours of things to say so far.
Yeah, well, the last one will give you a year of things to say.
Yep.
Or maybe you won't be able to say a damn thing. You'll be like, well,
yep.
nothing to say. That shut me up. It's so powerful.
But I really enjoy these movies, and it is hard to think of any media I've encountered where this like two different angles intersecting, two different views of the same story complement each other so well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is, thankfully, I guess,
it's the end.
The real end of Evangelion, right? There will be no more Evas after this. The mangas, I think, are done, right? TV shows done, movies are done. They're going to never make any more Evangelion anything ever again.
I read
the end.
So I will say I read a lot of the manga, but I never finished it because it wasn't done at the time I was reading it, which was a long goddamn time ago. What I remember about the manga was that it felt like the show, but with a lot more context, and it went way deeper into everything, but still stuck very closely to the show. So I can't say yet, having not seen the fourth movie, if the manga is like a necessary part of this triptych, or if the show and the movies together are like the thing. And you haven't read the manga at all, I don't think so.
Nope.
The manga's real good. Like you get a lot of Futsuki, you get a lot of Kaji, you get a lot like the watermelon scenes are way, way longer. Characters' conversations are just real and long. But again, I didn't finish the manga, so.
I guess just, superficially character-wise, right? The movies have more Futsuki Friday.
Yep, I like Futsuki a lot.
They have less Ritsuko going on.
Yep, like the show really explores Ritsuko and the Magi, and that is not really a thing in these movies. Like it's a thing, but it's not like a major.
They mention the three magi quite a few times, but they don't tell you what they are in the movies. They don't show them.
So think of it this way: in the movies, the three magi are like what one of the nerve bases disappearing in the show is. Like, oh, that happens. People react to it. It's part of the fiction of the universe, but it's not explored deeper.
Yep. And I think that's why Ritsuko has less, action.
Yep.
Kaji in the movies is somewhat similar to the TV show where he comes in big, right? As a huge part is like, it's Kaji, the Kaji stuff, and then not, right? And then he's done. It's like, all right, that was the Kaji part.
Yep.
Right?
It's hard to...
And then there's new characters that weren't even in the...
I guess all this, one thing I can say is that before I watched these, I remember seeing the new character and thinking, really? You just put another boob girl in and that's okay, Anno, whatever. But I like that character a lot. That character works well.
I mean, the character's, there for a reason, I guess.
Yep. It really makes a scene at the end of the second movie work and make sense and give you a lot of context for what happens. Imagine a character who does the thing by accident versus a character who was trying to do the thing on purpose. Which, in a way, contextualizes what Kaji was up to in the original show, but kind of failed at.
Anyway, so we'll talk about this again once Rim has seen the fourth movie, so he knows what he's talking about.
Also, I really, it's hard to, we're dancing around stuff a lot because I want to talk specifics.
I don't know why you just don't go watch the fourth movie. It just took me 2 days. I don't know what you're waiting for. It's sitting right there.
I'm busy.
It doesn't cost you anything. You have Amazon.
I'm still mulling over the other ones, so. I'm mulling.
You can watch them as many times as you need.
They're getting watched again. The only one I'm not going to watch again is the first one.
Bring a notepad if you need to.
So yeah, our advice to you, if you have never seen any Evangelion, go watch the original show. Goddamn, there's a reason people keep talking about it.
Right. And try not to, it's like, you could watch it on Netflix if you have to, but really, you want to find, I have, DVD.
There's a platinum, DVD release that is, the one to watch.
That's the one because it has the director's cuts, which have a few key scenes in some later episodes, and you have the original openers and enders.
Yep.
With the Japanese audio, with the English subtitles.
And those key scenes, while they're not strictly necessary, there's a couple of scenes in that director's cut that if you're watching the show for the first time, you'll go, oh, I get it, about some moderately critical plot points of why Seele and certain things are doing what they're doing that is a little bit more obtuse without those scenes. Still sus-outable, but too.
They're quite helpful scenes that have been added.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the ideal Evangelion TV to watch, and then yeah, after that, now you can watch these movies. You can watch these movies without watching the TV show, as if it's its own thing.
I wouldn't.
But yeah, it's like, I think A, they're not as good as the TV show, right? And B, a lot of stuff is just gonna like just be a miss. You're gonna be like, what?
Yep.
What the heck is that? I understand, like, the meaning of a lot of the things that happen in these movies, even though it's not like there's some, prerequisite knowledge. You can't follow what's happening. You could, they do stand alone.
Yep. But there's a difference between what the fuck was that versus why the fuck did the Spear of Longinus appear?
Well, it's more like the importance of and meaning of what you're seeing only makes sense in contrast against the original TV.
I think that's a very important point. The contrast between the two is a huge part of why they complement each other so well.
Right. So it's like, if you watch the movies, it's sort of like watching like a silhouette alone, and you've never seen the TV show ever. It's like watching a silhouette play. It's like, yeah, you can follow who the characters are and what's happening and hear all the dialogue and you know what happened. But you're just seeing like the black outline, right? Yep. If you've seen the real TV show, now even if you're looking at the silhouette, it's all filled in because you know what the hell everything is.
Yep. So, yeah, we've gone on pretty long just reviewing these without spoiling anything. So stay tuned. We'll record our like super long spoiler episode, probably without news or anything, because we'll need some time. And yeah, watch these.
I need to do 2, 1 for
4. Well, 3.
Much material you get from that 4th movie.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what else we can say except you should watch these.
Yeah, of course. It's an animated movie, full length, 4 of them.
And it's not a sequel, so...
No, it's not.
No. All right, yeah, we went over it.